Many of you may be familiar with recruiting commercials used extensively by the U.S. Army. The commercials depicted many real-life situations on and off the battlefield. They showed soldiers using their military training and expertise as a foundation for jobs in the civilian sector. The main theme of these commercials was that the Army trains people to become all that they can be. In a similar way, today's gospel, through Jesus' example, shows us how to become who we are meant to be. We just heard that Jesus lets himself be led by the Spirit into the desert for solitude and prayer. But once there, he is faced with enormous temptation. We can compare our own spiritual journeys with Jesus' journey into the desert. The season of Lent invites us into a different space. It is a space where we can allow ourselves to be purified, a space where we can be enlightened, a space where we can be united with God. United in a way that allows us to be all that we were created to be. All that we were created to be in the eyes of God. This may sound pretty profound, because it is. You see, when we open ourselves and commit ourselves to the Lenten process, our whole life changes. We find that we can do things and experience life in a way we never could imagine. When this happens, it is called conversion, true conversion. That is what Lent is all about. We can take confidence in the fact that Jesus shows us the way. Jesus' experience in the desert and our experience in Lent have everything in common. Both situations invite the participants to come to grips with who they really are. We know that Jesus was successful combating his temptations in the desert. His ministry was reaffirmed. His faith was strengthened in the process. If we are successful in our Lenten journey, we will find our faith fortified for the long journey into God. Lent is a special season in the Church's liturgical year. It is a time when each of us is called to follow Jesus' example. It is a time when we are encouraged to take some desert time for ourselves. It is a time when we need to make room in our lives for solitude, for meditation, for prayer. It is a time to remember who we are and what God asks of us. It is a time for a renewal of faith so that we can become all that we can be in the eyes of God. You know, Lent can be a difficult time for many people, even faith-filled people. Lent is a season of sacrifice, sacrificing through fasting, abstinence, and denial of certain pleasures in our lives. Perhaps we could ease our difficulty if we applied some positive objectives to our Lenten checklist. Easy things. Things like being nice to everyone we meet, of volunteering our time in a parish ministry, a ministry like our food pantry or thrift store. Maybe we could just work at being joyful in our faith and in our lives and living. A successful and rewarding Lent does not happen on its own. We need to be guided by Jesus' example. We need to let ourselves be led by the Holy Spirit into our personal desert time. If we are successful, we will require the strength to say no to the temptations that trip us up on any given day. We can become all that we were intended to be in the eyes of God.